Yeah, Nightbeat Media, we in here. We living the dream, turning my dream to reality. Young entrepreneurs determine their own salaries. Yeah, they try to hold us back, but I'ma let you know, we ain't waiting for a welcome in, we kicking the dough. Yeah, live the dream, you know we live in the dream. Ain't no limits to our vision, Nightbeat, that's the team. Ayy, live the dream, you know we live in the dream. Ain't no limits to our vision,
Thank you. Welcome to another episode of Living the Dream. I'm your host and moderator, Greg Tucker. Today we have Mr. John Derrickson. And Mr. Derrickson, thank you for joining us here on Living the Dream.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Now, for those of you who do not know what Living the Dream is, Living the Dream is a program that's geared towards small businesses, entrepreneurs, those individuals who are movers and shakers in the community, and just regular folks who have a dream and chose to take action on those dreams. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and kick things off. Mr. Derrickson, as we always like to do, start off with, tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, and the theme is living the dream. I'm truly living the dream because I get to work with some of the area's most talented youth. That's truly a blessing for me. I really enjoy that. I enjoy seeing a little light bulb go off in their head. You know, it's like, oh, that's how. And that's in lieu of payment to me. I mean, you know, we all have to exist, and I can't say that money doesn't come into it. There's marketing strategies that we can go over whenever you want. But the thing is, the most payment to me is seeing that light bulb go off, seeing the success in their eyes, seeing the confidence that gets built up from every little step they make. And you can see each step. You can see them getting stronger each and every time. From the first time they perform, and when they're like, oh, what am I going to do? And we talk about, well, let's see, what's the worst that can happen? You'll forget this or you'll forget that. But the sun will still come up tomorrow and say, yeah, that's right. And, you know, they get through it, the first one, then they're a pro. Then we can talk about the small things that makes their performance even better, you know, and the psychological behind all that. There's a lot to it, but there's a simplicity also. And the simplicity comes in with having fun, having them to have fun, make sure they're always having fun, and I'm having fun. And so if that exists, and people hear that and they go, oh, well, you guys just have fun, you don't work? No, we work. And there's assignments that they have all the time. But the more assignments, more you come prepared, the more fun you can have. And that's how we work it. It's a give and take. It's a partnership. And once they buy in, the fun begins.
Well, John, that kind of takes us to something I heard once, and that is find something you love or have a passion to do, and you will never work a day in your life.
That's true. That's very true. And that's why I say I'm blessed, because I can work with different students, and we explore different facets, not only of music, but of their life and the things that they're going through and what makes them tick. And that comes to be very, very important. So you teach far, far, far more than just music. You know, you teach life, you teach life struggles, you teach what they're going through. When I ask a child, how you doing? You know, how was school today? You know, and they might, and I don't shut them off. I let them tell me how, you know, and they do. They say, well, school was this, and I don't like this teacher, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you get to find out more about the person. If you find out more about the person, then the teaching becomes easier, and you know how to reach that student. And that's important also.
Okay. Well, John, give us a little bit more background. You've been a teacher for far as in the school system. How many years did you actually teach?
Well, I taught first in Columbus Public, and then I came to Dayton. When my parents started taking ill, I came back to Dayton because I'm from Dayton. And really, from that point on, it was really using the skills that I had learned up till then. So beginning in Columbus and then coming here to Dayton, much the same thing. The skill set changed because education changed over the years, and you have to approach it in a different manner. Now what I do is I teach privately. I teach vocal and piano, and a lot of times a student will start with just the vocal side, and I will encourage them. I say, it would really be nice if you could accompany yourself. How would you like to accompany yourself when you play? Oh, I can never do that. I said, well, let's try. Okay, put your hand here. I'll try this. Now sing this line. And before you know it, they're doing it. They're like, oh, And so that's where we start the next week, and the next week after that. And pretty soon, they're doing it. It's like, hey, they're doing something that they never thought they could. But once they do that once, and then you tell them, well, you didn't think you could do that, but now you can do something else. You believe me once, believe me again, and let's go further. Let's do some more,
Okay.
So once you establish that rapport, kids will do all they can for you. One big thing that I found, and because we all use this term, go home and practice. Go home and practice. Well, what does that look like? Practice? What is that? So don't be afraid. Teachers, don't be afraid to spell it out exactly what you want them to do, because they don't know. A lot of times, they really don't know. A lot of times, it's not a case of them being lazy. They just don't know. If you're doing something on page 5 and then something else on page 7, and there's a hard part, there's a hard 2 measures that they really have to work on, circle that bad boy and say, okay, now I want you to, and give it a number. Say, okay, this is number 1, circle. I want you to work on circle number 1. I want you to play that 15 times a day in circle number 1. And then after you do that, go on to circle number 2 and play that 10 times. And not only that, but we have a solution for and when you think you know something, we have what's called the 10 times rule. The 10 times rule is if you can do it 10 times perfectly, then you know it. But if you get to number 9 and mess up, you got to go all the way back and be honest. By doing this, the student realizes these are tangible numbers and tangible things that you want them to do. You can have a little checklist if you want. So now, practice. When I say I want you to practice, we're both thinking of the same things.
Okay. Now, John, one of the things that I would like to ask you, because besides being a teacher and having a lot of experiences, you're also a businessman. And that is, as a entrepreneur right now, what has been some of the challenges that you have faced as a entrepreneur, far as in promoting your business or in obtaining those new students?
Well, one of the biggest thing that's going against various music programs is time, because now the student has so many different things that they can get into, aside from just when I was coming along with baseball and basketball and football. Now you got chess club and fencing and French club, and the list goes on and on and on. So you have to compete with these other factions. And you better look at it that way, because you have to compete with it. You have to sell your product, and there are different ways to look at that. But when I say sell the product, the biggest thing that comes to mind is, like when I was taking lessons, everyone had a certain book that they went in, and you did a certain song, and then when you finished that song, you did the next song that the teacher wanted you to teach. If I did that, I wouldn't have any success. In today's market, first of all, you want to come off as the authority, but not in a bragging way, because that won't get it. What you want to do is relate to your customer, not necessarily what you can do for them, but how they're going to feel, what they're going to be able to do with their newfound skills. You know, how it's going to feel when you can accompany the choir. How it's going to feel when you step into somewhere that has a piano and just sit down and start playing. How it's going to feel when you can accompany someone. You know, all these things are tangible things that we can tell our customer, and that's what's important, because that's the outcome. That's what they're looking at. They don't really care how many frames you got on the wall, where you went to school, this and that. I mean, that has its place. Okay. They want to see that you're credible, but to keep the student, and that's important, to keep the student, you really have to value their goals and objectives, not yours. And you might not agree with their goals and objectives, but put it this way: would you rather be getting paid every week, not agreeing with their goals and objectives, or would you rather? Are you so staunch that no, I can't do that, so I won't do that. So you'll pass that up. From a marketing standpoint, you have to be ready to make yourself marketable in so many different ways, especially today, in so many different ways. And like I said, the whole thing about taking the student and doing what they want is so important. The genre that they want to explore, not the genre that you want to explore, and if they stay with you long enough, maybe you can pull them over to your side a little bit, okay? But I know this: if they quit in 2 weeks, there's no chance of that happening. So this marketing thing is really important, and no matter what the genre they pick, you need to be qualified, and that's where preparation comes in. You need to be qualified to offer them valued instruction. And you know what? If you're not, there's no disgrace in referring someone else that may be better qualified. There's no disgrace. When you do that, you don't give up your authority at all. You still have your authority, because you're saying, go to this other person, they're specialized in this, I think they'll get you there quicker. And there's nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. Now, on the other hand, if you want to branch out more and be able to increase your footprint, have a bigger selection sample to more people to address, then preparation.Maybe that means going to school. Maybe that means taking some more classes so that you can be prepared for that. And if you go into the situation, and if you are prepared for that, you'll relax. Your student will relax too. That's important, because if your student seems to be on edge and you're on edge because you're not sure what you're doing, what your next step is going to be, that's not a good situation. I often tell my students, we may go this way or we may go that way, depending on where it works. If something is not working, I'm not going to keep on going down that path. I'm going to switch over and try something else. And I tell my student that, hey, if something's not working, we're going to try this over here and see that. And constantly monitor the student. I constantly ask my students, what do you think about this? What do you think about what we're doing? is this what you had in mind when you contacted me? Or do we need to go further over this way? Or what do you think? And that's important. What do you think gives them tremendous buy-in to what's going on? And once you get buy-in, then you've got that leverage that you need. And that's important. Then you get teaching moments. Teaching moments are moments when you hear, how do I, and you can fill in the blank. How do I, whenever I hear that inside, I'm going, oh boy, here we go. Now they'll go wherever I want now. Mr. D, how do I, all right. Those are teaching moments that you have to be ready for and take advantage of. They really are.
Okay. Well, John, I happen to have had the honor of coming out to several of your recitals, and that right there gave us an opportunity for us to see your students in action. And it seems like they really, I'm not just saying this, they really, really enjoyed themselves as far as in order to give them an opportunity to show as far as what they were actually doing, as far as all that knowledge they accumulated up under your tutelage.
Well, yeah, that's important. It's important for them because for many of them, that was their first performance.
Okay.
And that's really important for them to be in control of the situation, feel like they're in control. And you probably remember this. When my students many times sat at the piano, they wouldn't just jump right in and play. They'd sit there for a minute, and they would compose something. That's what they're supposed to do. Like sit there for a minute, get yourself together, think about what you're doing, and then do it. And that was I was really proud when I saw that, because they, almost to a person, they all did that. No one jumped up there and hurried through what they were doing, But doing that allowed them the time to kind of relax and to kind of put on the best performance that they possibly could. And I felt that they had control of that situation. So there's something about having control of the situation. All the butterflies seem to kind of, if not vanish completely, lessen a whole lot, because I've got control of this. So, even if I, might not be a little perfect, or even if something goes a little wrong, I'll stay with it, and that's important too. So it was the mental aspect that I thought they handled very, very well, and I was real proud of them.
Now, one of the things that I learned in Toastmasters, and that's I was once told that it's okay to have those butterflies, is just channeling them.
That's very true. That's very true. Butterflies are really a good thing, because they will you're at your peak. You're sensitive to all sorts of things, so you're at your peak, but it's how you handle that. And what the way that I expressed it to the kids was, I don't care what you do. You stand, when you're done, you do your best. That's all I want. If you do your best, I'll stand up and we'll bow together, and that's your best. And therein lies the lesson. It's that goes beyond just music, just do your best. And be proud of your best. That's it. And now, if you have to make some changes along the way, or maybe you have to find a different way to do something, then that's fine too. But doing your best is something that there's no apologies for. I did my best, and that's a wonderful thing. I thought that my kids, when they perform, I like their attitude. My attitude is, and this is something else that all teachers need to remember. Like they say, a football coach and a team takes on the persona of the coach.
Yes.
Well, the same is true for your students. If you're the kind of teacher that really, really, really gets on performance day, you're like, what's gonna happen? I'm just everything has to be just right, and you're all tense, and your students will take on that persona. On performance day, my students will tell you, I'll come in joking with them. I'll be playing, and I'll let them, I'll show them their surroundings. I will show them where they're going to be playing, and we'll talk about some things like the order, but we won't discuss any of the details of their performance. We've already done that. Now it's about having fun. I try to tell them, when you perform, that's the fun part. The fun part is showing people what you can do. That's the fun part. So we're having fun today. So I go in there telling jokes and keeping people loose and everything like that, and laughing and everything. And that's what my performance day looks like. And that's what you get out of it. That's what I get back a lot of times. I'm sure that other teachers would say, well, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, and I want you to do this, and with a lot of rules, and I'm sure that rules have their place, but I try to not get too specific, especially when I'm dealing with kids that this is their first or second or even third performance activity. That's all good for a later time. Especially they'll have time for that as they audition for this, as they audition for that. They'll have time to get real particular, and we can talk about the different things that the different judges might be looking for, or something like that. But at this stage, we're talking about have a good time, enjoy yourself, and show everyone what you can do.
Okay. And John, a lot of times, some of our viewers or some of our listeners out there may think that that you only teach first children, but you do have some adult students also that you currently teach as well, right?
That's true. I call them my students who are young at heart. They are young at heart. And it's funny because sometimes it's harder to break through with them because they're so set in their ways, especially vocalists who are used to singing a certain way, and sometimes we have to go back and unpack some of the luggage that they're bringing with them because they're used to sounding this way, and everyone's told them, oh, you sound so good, you sound so wonderful. But then when we go back, they've come to me because of a concern. And then the concern might be they want to improve their voice, their quality. They want to improve their range. They want to improve their breathing technique. There's all sorts of reasons that they might come to me. And I tell them, if things were perfect, you wouldn't be here. So we're going to really address that. And we are really hard, and we stick to, we work. We really do. And if something's not right, I'm very, very adamant about, coaching until I get the result that I want. But here's the thing. They understand that I'm criticizing what they did or how they sounded. I'm not criticizing them as a person. And that's a big distinction, because of all the other things that we do, because I will go in and we might talk for 10 or 15 minutes about how their day went. Or they might talk to me about that mean teacher that kept her after school. Because we can get personal like that. I can also get personal and say, after they sing something that wasn't right, or they're not following the rules that we said, I can say, that wasn't right. That sounded awful. And they know that I'm not criticizing them. I'm criticizing, what they did. And we can go from there. And that's very important to set up that rapport, because you can get a lot done with that rapport. And of course, when they do something, on the other hand, when they do something that shows that they're really listening and they're really practicing, you really praise them. You really go all out. Hey, that was really, really good. You are really, And we're not talking about being fake, I mean, I really feel good when they can do something that they couldn't do before, or when they improve upon a skill. I truly feel good, and I truly want to tell them and let them know that you've accomplished something here. You should feel good about what you've done. As a matter of fact, I might use those exact words. When we finish something, is that you should feel good about what we did. Because a lot of kids have things stacked against them from the get-go. A lot of times they'll be practicing even, and when they're practicing, and I tell them, you have to sound bad to sound good.
Oh, okay.
You have to sound bad to sound good. So if someone hears you practicing and they hear something that might not sound quite right, they'll tell you, that didn't, what are you doing? So you have to arm them against that. You have to say, this is coming now, because we do things, and sometimes silly things. Sometimes the sillier, the better, especially with younger kids, and go on and just sound just as outlandish as you can, to get to a point. Maybe you're talking about a breathing technique. Maybe you're talking about a way to improve your range. Whatever the case may be, these are things that we have to go through in order to create that positive result. And it's important that they realize that, and that they realize, for example, many students come to me because they want to improve their voice, what they say, or they want to improve their tone quality. And the first thing we will do is I will have them sing everything as loud as they can. Not because we want every song to be loud, but because when you sing loud, you do more things correctly. Your muscles, and there are all sorts of reasons, but I'll just leave it at that. When you sing louder, you do more things within yourself, the tone, the muscles, the face, the tongue, all that. You do more things right. So that's why a lot of times when we come in, I will tell them to sing loud. And they do that, but I also tell them, now when you sing loud, you're going to lose some control.
No.
You will lose some control. Those little cute things that you used to do because you were singing in your comfort zone, you're not in your comfort zone anymore. I tell them, I just have a little car, but if someone gave me an 18-wheeler, I feel like I'm just like going down the road. I'd be all kinds of scared. Uh-huh. So that's now you're giving this big voice, and you're like, what do I do with this? Mm-hmm. I don't have control of it. And so now, once we have the big voice, now we've got something to work with. Okay. Now we've got something to work with. Now we can talk about how to control that voice. So it comes in stages. And once they get over the fact that, I don't want to sound bad, or I don't want to sing a bad note. Once they get over that, we can get a lot done. In fact, there's an exercise where we do, and I say, I want to hear your voice crack. We're going to go up because I want to see how high you can go up. And so we're going to go up a couple notes after that. And I want to hear, and I'm not going to stop until your voice breaks. Uh-huh. So they're prepared for that. Okay. They're prepared for that. And the other thing is, I want them to realize, when they've accomplished something, no matter how small the accomplishment, I want them to realize that before I couldn't do this, and now I can. And that would push them on to do other things, hopefully,
Oh, yes.
But that's all of that is important in relating to the total person, to the total child, or to the total other person. Like now you asked me about some our older folks, and most of them are harder to get that to bend. Now, when they do, though, they go all the way. They get it all the way. So it's never impossible, but as we go through life, we've come up against so many things, and we've had so many obstacles, and we don't want to set a bad precedent, or we're so afraid of sounding bad or not sounding right, or that we totally just stay in our comfort zone. So the first thing I get them to do is try to come out of their comfort zone. And when they can hear their bigger voice, they can hear it. I really like it when someone comes with them, because when someone comes with them, I won't say anything. I will turn to the other person. I'll say, what do you think? And usually the person goes, yeah, you sound good. You sound wow. I didn't know you could sing like that. You sound like and I'll let the other person say, you sound like another person. I don't say that. I let the other person say that. And then we go on from there.
Okay.
You know, but that's important that they hear that and understand that.
Okay. And that just kind of goes into something, and that is sometimes you have to fail in order to succeed. Because most things, or a lot of people who we consider as being successful, had a lot of failures when you pull back the covers right there, because we're often looking at those successes and not looking at all the experiences and everything that you had to learn. And how do you learn? You learn by finding out things that don't work until you get to those things that do.
That's
now,
very true.
Now, let me ask you, because as we see, as far as with the school systems, that one of the things, well, several things that have been cut from the time that we were in school, and that's been a while. And music has been on the chopping block. Art, as far as the art appreciation. So now when we see young people, now they have to qualify. They have to be the best of the best in order to get into what they consider the STEM schools or art appreciation schools in order to get those areas. Now, what, as a teacher, as far as within the school systems, what are some of the advantages that parents may not know that children are exposed to when they do have music and they do explore art?
There are so many advantages to starting out music, and they don't even have anything to do with music a lot of times. They have something to do with the other disciplines. For one thing, it's a musician, and I don't care whether they play or they sing, but a musician is someone that can try something 10 times and not be able to do it until the 10th time. So do one time of those 10, and then do it 10 more times and strive to do it 2 times or 3 times out of that 10. Look at all the failures there. But then they keep on striving, and maybe by the end of the week they can do it 5 out of the 10 times. That's a musician. But it's also a person that I would not hesitate to hire if I was hiring someone for a particular job, because maybe the job was something that was a little different for them, that they would have to adjust to, or something that was a new technology that was coming in. I would opt for someone, for a musician, because that's a person that I know that has gone through the struggles of not being able to do it at all, and then doing it 1 time out of 10, and then going back and keep continuing to do it. So that's a person that I would hire, and I would think this person is going to stick with it and not just quit on the first day because they don't understand this or don't understand that. So that's a biggie right there, I think. Taking music teaches you how to get through the other disciplines a lot of times too, because what we just talked about, that thing about not quitting and the thing about continuing to study or continuing, that goes through all the other disciplines. And those traits that we develop, and those habits that we develop in music, can go straight across the board and raise those test grades. They can, because the student will say, well, I could do this. I applied myself here. So maybe if I apply myself the same way in math, then maybe I'll be able to succeed in that too. So there's definite crossover. It also goes to speak about, we can discover how the student learns when we're talking about music. How does the student learn? Does the student learn by listening? Does the student learn by watching? Does the student learn by doing? And so it happened very often that my music class, I could go to another teacher and tell them, why so-and-so is having trouble in your class because he's more hands-on. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. He can't just sit and listen to you talk. You got to give him stuff to do so he actually learns from that. That's how little Johnny learns best. And I've gone in and discussed that with teachers, and most occasions it has helped. The teacher says, oh, thank you very much. I see what you're saying. I tried that, and he did do yada, 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 a little better. So the ways in which we learn and discovering the ways in which we learn, that's an important thing. And taking music brings that about because we can see how they learn. You know, when I sit up and play a rhythm, they might say, play that again, play that again, and then they play it. Whereas someone else might say, hear me play it, tune, 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 and they might say, okay, let me try to do that with me, do. So they learn by doing. Whereas, and there are some students that want the whole thing. They'll say, do this, and then, okay, now show me the other, and show me the last part, because they want to summarize it. They want to get it all in their head, and that's how they learn the best, is to take these bits and pieces and to summarize them, you know, and that's how they most easily digest the subject matter. So it varies, and like I said, we can be of a help to other teachers in helping them to discover how students learn best.
All right. Well, John, it's getting pretty close to the end of our time. I'm kind of getting cues here. As always, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Definitely.
And thank you for taking the time out of your busy day.
It's been fun. It really has. I enjoy talking to people about music and talking to people about our youth. That's really more the point, you know, because they are really, really gifted and they got a lot going for them.
We hope that you have found this program to be of value. And if you have any questions or you would like to know more about John and what, you know, how you can...
Miami Valley Music Company, Miami Valley Music Company.com. I'll do it again. Miami Valley Music Company.com, or email me, oharlinjr@gmail.com. Again, that's oharlinjr@gmail.com.
Okay, there you have it. Again, this has been an exciting time. We do hope that you found value in this program. If you did find value in this program, please make sure that you subscribe. We do value all of our viewers, our listeners, our subscribers. And what we would also like to leave you with, as always, when you're writing the story of your life, be sure that you're holding the pen. Until the next video, live your dream.
Live the dream, you know we live in the dream. Ain't no limits to our vision. Night beat, that's the team. Ayy, live the dream, you know we live in the dream. Ain't no limits to our vision. Night beat, that's the team. Hold up.